that needs addressing. For even if you go to a function, you're gonna get an outfit. You're not gonna wear the raggediest clothes in your life. But the reason I wanted to start it off in this accord is we make time and do for everything in our lives except for addressing ourselves. And is it that we have been accustomed to just neglecting ourselves, or is it that we are just too afraid of what we might go about seeing? But the thing that we need to go about realizing about life is that we need to go about prioritizing what's important. And what's important is self and how one goes about treating self, engaging with self, and more along the line, taking care of self. Because far too long, we have just been downtrodden and not doing right by ourselves. But forgiveness is that tool that we need in our life in order for us to go about moving past some of the things that is plagued us. And one of the things that we need to stop doing is that we need to stop telling ourselves things just to make it seem as if though everything is okay. But the things that we go about telling ourselves is full of worthlessness. Yes, we learned that the human brain is capable of coping with anything. It will almost damn near trick itself and making itself believe the foolishness that it goes about formulating just to keep on going. The human brain is that strong. It's capable of many different things, but yet we have still not gone about unlocking our potential. And because we haven't unlocked our potential, we stayed hindered, we stayed back, and we do not go about progressing in the nature in which we are to be. Because in the Zionist teachings, it teaches that one must go about repenting. Now, if we look at it, what does it truly mean to repent? And for one to go about repenting is turning away from that way and do it no more. Now, the structure teaches that if one goes about repenting, he walks a different path. So I ask you, if one goes about truly forgiving themselves, would they not walk a different path? Would they not come to a better understanding in how they go about seeing things? Because how to see is more important than what you see. And what we see, what we see is not. What's up? Oh. What we see far sometimes goes about far as goes about distracting us because we don't see what's there. But in not seeing what's there, it's only driven by our perspective ideology. So what you see, if it's not focused and analyzed properly, then you won't come to realize what's there. But in order for us to go about truly making that change in our life, we need to come to understand the laws which are in place. Not mankind laws, but the laws of life, laws of nature, and the way how things formulate. The basicest of the laws is this: the car life has a karmic circle. What goes around comes around. If one goes around doing heinous things and being abusive to others, he is making his bed and being that he will suffer abuse. But because all he sees is the power or the lack thereof power, he cannot see that he is paving his own road to destruction. And because too many times a lot of us go on with this ideology that we are going to do things from a certain perspective, that life in turn will go about not punishing us because of our ignorance. But like what I keep saying, ignorance is no excuse. Welcome to the channel. This been the humble servant. Go ahead and double tap on the screen so we get these thumbs up going, and that we could go about finding forgiveness for ourselves. And in finding forgiveness for ourselves, we stop doing things that go about hurting ourselves, that goes about causing us to feel alone. Because despite what others have gone about doing to you, it's only your interpretation that leaves you feeling estranged and not allowing certain things to go about helping you to move forward in life. And because some of us, so many of us, is that we do not take that time. We do not take that time out for ourselves, and that why have I become so fearful and in fear? It's an illusion that we have propped up inside our head and making us believe something that just isn't real. Like yesterday, I did the analogy of the snake and the rope. And with the snake and the rope, if we go about perceiving that rope to be a snake, we will run in terror. But it's our way of looking at things. And that's why I say we need to be careful. We need to be mindful that what we see is what's there, and it's not our perception of what we want to see, because we limit ourselves in the way how we go about doing things. And the way how we go about doing things affects the true nature of what we are to become. Because far too many times we hold on to the hurt. And in holding on to the hurt, it makes it hard because we go back and revisit the same lesson just in a different format. And the thing that I come to advise is in the snake and the rope, it's a great metaphor because we become, like there's this old saying, once bitten, we become twice as shy. We're hesitant to approach and so forth. But it's only because of that fear that have us to be hesitant, because yet we have not come to understand the value in knowing what we are going about dealing with. You see, they had this guy on a boat that I was on when I was in the Navy. And this guy, he had a friend, but his friend would always do him dirty. And in his friend doing him dirty, he couldn't or didn't understand the hidden dangers in being reckless. So other females would approach this guy, but because he couldn't come to realize the snake in which he was playing with, his perception left him feeling hurt time and time again. So the question I ask, how does one go about hugging a cactus without being hurt or affected? And too many times, that's what a lot of us go about doing. We want to see and want to lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that this is a fluffy teddy bear, when in all actuality, the cactus has thorns, and the thorns will go about sticking us. So, for one to come to that realization, one must have an understanding in what they're dealing with in life. And in coming to that rationale, then one will be able to see that, hey, it's merely me and my perception that causes me to go about being in this hurt. But moreover, as we continue to look at forgiveness, it sees that when we move past, when we move past the the conditioning that we have gone about implementing in our lives, then we will see that It's more along the notion that nobody owes us anything. But too many times we fall victim only because we believe we should not be treated like this. And our feelings get hurt. Our feelings get hurt because what have I done to go about deserving this treatment? I haven't spoken ill to anybody, but life is only trying to teach you that you're not being aware of what's going on. Just because you see yourself in a certain light, that doesn't mean everybody else sees themselves in that same manner. Abusive people will always try to go about abusing others. But when we leave and extract ourselves and be an observer, because we have to be observant in every situation that we find ourselves in, then we will see that it's not me. It's only that person carrying on in the form in which they're comfortable in. And then our feelings will not become hurt. We will be able to go about forgiving that person because then we will have come to understand that that person is just that cactus. And we must go about limiting our interactions with that cactus because the cactus has to be a cactus. That's the way it was born. It's only defending itself. But when we go about putting ourselves in strange situations and constantly wondering why we are the ones getting hurt, then our awareness is not up to par. You see, make it so that in every situation you go into, make it so that there's boundaries. There's means in which you hold yourself to a state in being comfortable. And in being comfortable, you have to understand the people that you're going around dealing with. Because if your friends are backstabbers, you can't be hurt when they go about backstabbing you. If your friends are liars, you can't be hurt when they lie on you. And too many times we go about telling ourselves that they won't do it to me because I'm a true friend. But one has to realize they could only go about being themselves. And in being themselves, it's key that you come to know who you are so that you won't be hanging with people who are not of like-minded because different energies don't match up. Oil and vinegar, they don't mix. So one has to be conscientious and aware in the company they go about keeping because when one becomes aware of the people that they're hanging with, they could remove themselves out of that situation. Going back to the old saying, you can't change your friends, but you could change the people you go about hanging with. You see, people aren't going to go about changing for you. Change only comes from within. That's the only time change goes about taking place. So if your friends are the ones that's going around causing the hurt, the pain, remove yourself from that hurt and pain so that you may go about finding that freedom and that peace that you need. Remember, life can't lie. Human beings lie. They lie all the time. And life is going to tell you who's your true friend and who's not. Life is going to expose the frauds, the phonies, the snakes, the rats, all the deceitful people in your life. But you just have to be open to it. You can't become bitter because, like I said before, they're only being themselves. There's no obligation to you. The only obligation they have is to themselves and how they go about seeing life. So when one realizes that all this time I've been trying to hug this cactus and it hurts so much, eh, I must remove myself. I must take myself out of this because I've been telling myself these things for far too long that this is a good person and that this person will go about changing. Do not become bitter by it, but more enlightened in how you go about understanding. There's different personalities all around. There's different makeups. But the thing that I would like to go about giving today in this live is that I would like that, if possible, that you could go about implementing these three things a day. And in implementing these three things a day, you get up in the morning and you go about telling yourself that I love you, self, and today we're going to do what it takes for us to be okay. But as the day go on, despite what happens, tell yourself we will not go about turning away from self or rejecting self in any kind of form or matter. And at the end of the day, tell yourself once again that you love yourself. In doing these things, it will go about implementing a conditioning of the mind because despite what happens on a day-to-day basis, the mind will be programmed and triggered and vested to go about looking out for itself. It will formulate things in which that the way how I've been looking at things, I've been taking things too personal. I haven't allowed myself to just be an observant and realize that this situation called for something else. And too many times we're out of place. So make it so that by implementing small things in your life, that you go about forgiving yourself for what people have done to you, for what you have gone about doing to yourself. And in forgiving yourself, it will open a different chapter in your life. It will broaden your horizon and realizing that some people carry on in a manner which they're just not aware of. Some people carry on in a learned behavior because this was taught at home. This is what the person practices, and that's how they go about carrying on. But those who don't know better, you can't blame that person, can you? You can't hold that person to a higher esteem. You can't hold that person to a level that they do not understand. So the reason I go about saying this in this accord is when you start to forgive yourself for all the things that you've been through, for all the things you went about taking for granted, for all the opportunities that you let slip away, then you will come to realize where I'm at. I have a choice in the matter and how things are going to go because things unfold depending on what choices we go about making and how we go about dealing with things. You see, if someone is holding a gun to your head, the outcome is very dependent upon the action that you go about taking. And the future is constantly changing. And because the future is constantly changing, the outcome, it's one which requires much of your attention. And listening will help you to go about analyzing the situation that you find yourself in. Like I said, too many of us do not practice the skill of listening. We're so quick to talk because everybody wants to be right. And because everybody wants to be right, we're not hearing what we need to hear. And since we're not hearing what we need to hear, then we become victims of circumstance. And in becoming a victim of circumstances, we go about blaming. But the outcome was dependent upon what you would do, how you carry yourself. Were you listening to what's being said? Now, make it so that in moving forward, you latch on to the promise that what you're doing is for you. And in doing so, the reward will be great. Every day gives us an opportunity to go about establishing a new way of doing things, a better way of doing things. But in order for us to get to that better way, we have to leave behind yesterday. Yesterday was a lesson that you had to go through. But if one does not come to appreciate the moment in which life is going about presenting that opportunity to them, then one is stuck in time. A time that neither goes backward, neither goes forward, but just a repetition of the same instant replaying over and over again. And if that doesn't get your attention, you see, the scriptures talk about this hell, but people don't come to realize that the hell they speak of is a state of mind. It's a way of living. It's taking less when you deserve more. So make it so that your actions are of beauty. And in making it so, you will see that every day is an opportunity for you to leave behind what's been hurting you. No one can do it for you. It only asks that you go about doing it for yourself. So, remember, you are capable of doing more than you realize. It's only when you come with the concept and understanding, then you will see that this forgiveness, it's been far too long, and you owe that to yourself. Go ahead and double tap on the screen so we can get these thumbs up, and get this thing to the masses, because this is something that the masses is desperately in need of. And all these people who are dying of thirst because the truth has not gone about finding them. So let's carry on in a way that is fruitful and blessing, so that every day we go about walking, there's peace residing within us. There's a consciousness in how we go about approaching and dealing with others. Nothing that others may go about doing onto you, it's because they hate you. No. They are just acting, they are just carrying on in a way that is understanding to them. But we cannot go about blaming others for not knowing. The only thing we can go about doing is releasing all negative energy, all negative that comes our way, because it is pointless to hold on to these things which have no purpose in our lives. These things are just only meant for you to go about garnering an understanding and how things work in the world. Like, the one thing that I would like to say in this regard is forgiveness is just like repentance. But in order for you to forgive others, you must and you have to forgive yourself so that every day you are ready to confront whatever is coming your way. And like I went about telling, is that if we do not find forgiveness for yesterday, how then will we go about dealing with what's to come tomorrow? Because issues are just being compiled one on top of the other, and before you know it, we're having a nervous breakdown. We're having that irritable moment in our life. It is not worth it to hold on to animosity, grievances, hurt, because then it only makes us hurt more. So the one thing that we must all strive for is finding that joy in life, despite what you're going through. Be okay and knowing that there's a better day coming that I just have to go about enduring. And when we go about doing that, our mental health, our body will begin to enjoy the benefits of letting go. Hatred is a toxicity which goes about holding us hostage. Hatred is a sickness that goes about robbing us. Bitterness is an anger that makes us unstable. But unless we release these things, we run to a certain demise in our life. And running to that demise, it will have us feeling broke down and miserable. And that's not what life is about. Life is beautiful. Life is challenging. Life is worthwhile. Life is demanding. But once we have come to know these basic elements and what life requires of us, then it makes it easier for us to go about living. And that living starts with forgiveness. Only when we go about forgiving is when we go about healing. If we're not healing, we're not getting better. Despite what was done to you, despite how many came across you, despite their many attempts on you, forgive yourself. And go about removing yourself from that which causes hurt. Do not constantly go about hugging the cactus and wondering why it hurts. Do not go about telling yourselves things just in order to go about feeling better about something. That's not what you want to do. You want to make it that every day you give yourself that chance to go about feeling that beauty. And in every way, make it so that life greets you in a way that is that is mesmerizing. You want life to give you the different challenges. You want life to help you grow. You want life to help you make you stronger, faster, better, and just holding on to a way that is well encompassing. Now that's my blessing. One.